We are here for the Between Darkened Mirrors, episode 23. We're trying to talk about what needs to happen for this upcoming day phase, and one of the questions was the possibility of for the advancement of unmarking personal quarters items. If a personal quarters item, and I might have said this like not clearly when we were talking about it before. But when a personal quarters item is an item that has a mask attached to it, generally you would only, if you're going to use the mask attached to it, then you would just mark off the mask. Like you would just do a the strike through for the mask itself. But I don't personally say that you've used up the item, right? So if you still can mark it towards a die roll, I consider that different from using the mask associated with that particular personal quarters item. So it essentially has two uses, right? So
Yeah.
the mask and then the actual mechanical dice roll advantage thing. So if you used the advantage part, then you would definitely be able to unmark it when you use that advancement. And if you haven't already used the mask, then obviously that's still available to you.
Okay.
If you've
Gotcha.
used the mask, but then you haven't, you also checked off the item to use in a die roll,
Mhm.
then unmark the personal quarters items just means that you're able to use it again towards advantage. But if you've already used the mask is gone.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
That fully answers my question. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Just making sure because I'm thinking, did I explain that right the last time that came up? So anyway, that's the clarification. Alrighty. Yeah. So we do have some. Went through a couple night phases between the last couple sessions, mm. and the hunters earned some rewards for resolving two threats, which is cool. And our legacy is marching ever closer to bringing out the beast. So we'll see. We still have one one threat on the board so far, and then the introduction of a new one come day phase. So for the Order of Azure Eyes, still the question needs to be answered: is the Order of Azure Eyes real? Which will unlock the next appropriate question, and that is a complexity 2. Guys have been building up a ton of clues for that, so currently there are 5 clues to be able to finagle some kind of answer, whether it's real or not. And then there will be a new threat introduced. And then there's also the Mask of Catharsis available if anyone wants to use that towards the threat in investigating it. And then I think looking at the hunters, we also have hunters with conditions. So Doc has feral. Brooding is a permanent condition, having taken that particular mask last time, I believe. Whitmore does not have any conditions, and Victor has otherworldly rash. That'll be an interesting one to remove. Okay. Uh, so, um, if anybody wants to kind of recall anything to them important from last time, besides obviously the resolution of the threats, that'll be great. Otherwise, just we'll talk about some scenes that you want to see for day phase to kick off day phase. Yeah.
Just had a question. I tried
Yeah.
to look it up between sessions because I
Hmm.
know there's very specific masks that say like even if mastermind threat is in play,
Hmm.
or like then the mystery still gets activated.
Okay.
Um, so is that the same? I don't think I saw it for the beast threat in my playbook.
Give me a second. Um, yeah. So Pinkerton, Cursed, Coven are things that can be activated even if there are 3 active threats already on the board. Now, let me check on to the beast because It is associated with your particular playbook, but we have to look at the actual sheet itself to see if that is something that pops up. Yep. So, when the player of the legacy gives the sheet to the keeper introduces the threat during the next dusk phase. That's different. Even if there are already 3 or more active threats. Okay? Yeah. So when you hit that last mark, it's like next dusk phase, boom. Oh boy. So I kind of want to see it before we completely end the campaign. Although I will say that if you mark your last, make your last hunt mark right at the end, even after completing any other threat, I'm gonna say that we can make that part of the mastermind. Dealing with it all, why not? Sure, it's not quite over, but I mean, just to see what kind of an excitement that you want to have. Or we can definitely resolve it as its own thing and then get to the mastermind threat. I'm okay with whatever you guys choose. We'll see. Yeah. I mean, because it's its own threat. It has its own threat sheet. So the legacy will fills in details that even I don't know anything about until they bring out the sheet when all the hunt marks are marked off. And then I would incorporate that with the things, the questions and opportunities that are already listed on the actual beast threat sheet itself. Anything that anybody wants to bring up that they remember specifically from last time, not necessarily having to deal with the resolution of the threats, but any details that they want to kind of bring up to follow through on for this particular session.
Whitmore did take the letter from Lord James Campbell Hughes and place it in the box under his bed. I don't necessarily need to do anything with that during day phase, just as a reminder that that occurred.
And I forgot, I think I had asked you, Doc, whether you think Lord James Campbell Hughes would have written you a note.
You
saying,
did.
Okay.
And I believe that he would have trusted Whitmore or rather, Lord James Campbell Hughes, it's my estimation, would have trusted Whitmore to get the message across to Doc. And yeah, I think that's
Okay.
Doc wouldn't feel bad about that. Doc wouldn't be like, oh, I wish I had my own letter. I think he'd be like, all right, that removes the possibility of any tripping or falling over one's words out the door. That's fine.
Okay. Makes sense. So that could be part of a vulnerable scene or what have you. Whomever wants to instigate it, you're still following the same rules though for a vulnerable move. You still want to have a vice in play. All right, so go run with that.
I definitely think as far as day phase vulnerable scenes, Doc invites Whitmore to. Does it have to be at the hair chasing hounds?
Whatever you want. I mean, again, if it's set up for, you just have to have the vice in play. It doesn't necessarily have to be
Okay.
in an established place. Maybe you find another dive.
Honestly, with the topic of conversation, I think it's just at Hargrave house. Like
Oh
Doc
wow.
unearths some dusty bottle of coffin varnish in one of the cellars and is like,
Sure.
hey Whitmore, I need you to come hang out with me in someplace way too big for just 2 people to be sitting and drinking. So like a ballroom or like, the something like that. You know what I mean? Like very
Sure.
cavernous room and just 2 people sitting at a way too big of a table with like 2 glasses and a bottle.
If they're having a vulnerable move scene, then I will. Do we know where the Pinkerton? Oh, the Langham Hotel at the west end. Yeah, I'll go to the
Right, but we
Langham
haven't.
Hotel.
I haven't. Excuse me. I haven't established him coming in yet. Although we
Okay.
could totally do that this morning.
Yeah.
In fact, I think this would be. I will definitely out of character. I'm definitely going to say that while they're having their vulnerable move somewhere in the house, then I think if Victor answers the door, like the ringing of the bell or whatever, I think you're going to see somebody that you don't know inquiring about Doc. So we can make that part of the day phase, of course. And any thoughts after the vulnerable scene / introduction of new threat?
Whitmore is going to the park where he's convinced the Order of the Azure Eyes, the Order of Azure Eyes, to hold the storytelling of Harrison's life in an attempt to learn more about the organization.
Now, mind you, it's like, you're investigating into, is this real? Because Annabelle had said she had overheard the conversation between Dr. Clauser and somebody else regarding this order. So, I mean, first you have to establish whether you think it's real, or as a group, you have to establish whether you think it's real or not.
And I think hearing more from Eugene, the clubhouse leader, would definitely go a long way to providing a clue for that.
Okay. We'll see. Depends on your dice rolls. Okay. Victor, Doc, any thoughts about what you want to do after vulnerable move / introduction
Yeah.
of new threat?
I think after a vulnerable scene, Doc is going to stake out and then subsequently break into the Pinkerton's hotel room to rifle it for clues as to what else he's doing in London.
Okay. And Victor?
Yeah, I think I'll just head to the hotel also.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and start establishing stuff. Let's get Doc and Whitmore into the vulnerable move first, and then I'm going to cut to the new threat. So, where do you think you guys are? Basement, gardens,
Let me see.
ballroom. Look at the rooms of Hargrave has.
Yeah, exactly. I realized I should just look at that.
Yeah.
Ballroom, 100%. That's exactly what I had in mind. It's like
Okay.
an empty, just a totally empty ballroom with
Weirdness.
yeah, just like 2 chairs and like a side table that would have a lamp on it, but the lamp has been like just put on the floor unceremoniously. And I think Doc like knocked on Whitmore's door fairly early in the morning and was just like, Whitmore, why don't you meet me in the ballroom when you got time, man? And then Doc proceeded to post up in this like very, again, unplanned kind of afterthought setup that he's put together, and is just like going to town on a bottle of coffin varnish when Whitmore walks in.
Whitmore would walk in probably with a shaving kit, assuming that that's why you've called me to the room with the large mirrors.
How scruffy do you feel that you look, Doc? Have you looked in a mirror since you got back?
I haven't. I think I look like as scruffy as I was before the last night. Like after Whitmore shaved me and I looked kind of human, we went out and did our thing.
Mm-hmm.
Overnight, I have now become just as scruffy as I was right before that shave. At this point, just to make sure, because I kind of narrated some things at the end of last session, Doc has Doc gotten the impression that Lord James Campbell Hughes isn't coming back? Because in my mind, this is happening after Doc learned that Lord James Campbell Hughes isn't coming back, got a telegram from his dad, and then used that to take a bunch of gold bullion out of the Bank of London under his parents' name to like fund Hargrave House. Because Whitmore had already mentioned we have to figure out money.
Yeah.
Okay. So all that being said, Whitmore comes in with the shaving kit. Doc goes, I appreciate that, Whitmore. And Doc's like hand absentmindedly goes up to his face, and he feels again just like the same amount of mutton chop there was 8 hours ago, 6 hours ago, depending on how long we were at the circus. But there was something else I wanted to talk to you about before we did that. Here, why don't you grab a seat? Doc clinks the Doc pours some coffin varnish in the empty glass, takes his half full glass, and kind of like clinks it onto the glass on the table in kind of a gesture almost as if like pointing to the seat, like sit down, pick up your glass. Doc, after making that gesture, as Whitmore is sitting down, just continues barreling
And
along with. I get the impression at this point. You already mentioned that Lord James Campbell Hughes might be gone for a while, and uh, based on what he said to me before he vamoosed, I think that's probably spot on. So I've taken some initiative and I've procured funding to maintain the function of Hargrave House. Big, huge sip of coffin varnish, finishes the glass, puts the glass back on the table, and it's like staring not at Whitmore, just like to the other side of the ballroom, the far, far, far wall.
Whitmore, as he starts to sit down before his butt quite hits the chair, would sort of breathe a sigh of relief. And as Whitmore sits in the chair immediately transforms into a three-legged stool that laughs like a fairy, as that is a feature of the ballroom, completely ruining the mood. But
Yeah. Doc
Whitmore would look
screams, "Ha!"
at Doc. Oh, the ballroom does that sometimes. I think one of Lord James Campbell Hughes's old balls that was in here a decade or so ago. Thank you, Doc, for tapping into your own reserve of funds. I'm sure that my own meager salary can be lowered just a bit further to keep you just a little bit richer and the house continuing to move on.
I don't believe in Doc. Like at this point, like very stiff, straightens his back, almost like he's wearing a button-up shirt, but the hanger is still in it, right in the back. Uh, well, Whitmore, while that is much appreciated, I don't believe we should need to lower your salary at all for at least. And Doc, like, just again, not moving, very stiff, just kind of closes his eyes and like moves his mouth like he's counting. For 12 months, we should be able to continue at a gate, at least how things have been recently for 12 months. That is how much money I got. And Doc is like kind of winding off into nowhere, sounding like someone who is a bit shocked in disbelief of what he is saying as he's saying it. That's how much money I took out of the bank. I just went to the bank and anyway, Whitmore, we have enough for 12 months without batting an
Uh,
eye. So let's not, lower your salary anytime soon.
Whitmore would do some quick math. I believe it would be 13 months. You didn't take into account that we no longer need Lord James Campbell Hughes's regular supply of gin, gunpowder, and as if reading off of a line item from a budget, fire and fire adjacent materials. That should give us another month and a half of budget.
You're right. I missed that. Honestly, yeah, month and a half, maybe 2 more months.
But
Well, I'm no mathematician, so I'll leave it to you to kind of hammer out the details. There's uh, several cases in the kitchen, um, near where you already kind of have run of the show, and they're full of gold bullion. So if you want to put those where
I
they need to
will
go, uh, then I'll
I,
leave it to you from here.
I will take care of that as you request. There is one more thing I think that we need to discuss, just the
Sure.
two of us. And Whitmore would head to the door of the ballroom and sort of draw the curtains over the door to make sure that Victor or no one else can hear. There was one more point in Lord James Campbell Hughes's letter that would have been inappropriate to discuss amongst Victor and our clientele, the Beetle. And Whitmore would pull out a contract and hand it over to Doc. This would be my employment contract. For some reason, Lord James Campbell Hughes never held on to it, insisting that it was better kept in my hands. But this letter was very explicit in his instructions that until he returns, this and my services belongs to you. And Whitmore would hold out the contract, folded up.
It's folded up.
Yes.
Okay.
In thirds.
Doc takes it and again has had this kind of stiff disbelief, like someone who just robbed a bank, right? Like that's the look. That's what I'm dancing around. Doc just stole so much money from the bank under his family's name. So he has that. But upon you handing him the letter, the stiffness fades away. So he kind of slumps a little bit into the hand that is holding the letter, and still disbelief, but a bit more relaxed, less like someone who has now come into kind of at least financial support of an entire household overnight. And Doc goes, huh, don't that just beat all?
I'm not familiar with that expression. Who or what is all, and why are we beating them?
It's just say I'm surprised. That's all I mean.
You
This
shouldn't
day
be.
just stays surprising.
You shouldn't be. As you said, it's your money that you took out of the bank. There's no reason for anyone to have stopped you. If they would have, I'm sure there'd be a knock on the door with the constabulary or the bank manager demanding you return the money. And
At that point, I'm just gonna cut away for half a mo.
Perfect.
Victor, it's like, as they're having their conversation in the ballroom, perhaps it's like, you are restless this morning, or you've like, finished training or what have you. And I'm gonna say that instead of the usual ringing of the bell, you're going to hear like, it sounds like a very business-like knock at the door.
Whitmore! Whitmore, someone at the door. Whitmore?
I'm gonna say that the ballroom is rather soundproofed.
Yes, I assumed. All right. Yes. Well, it's first time for everything, I guess. And he'll get to the door, open it.
You see the top of a billycock hat from a shortish man that's standing there, and then the hat rises, and then you look into the eyes of a fella with a square jaw, kind of mean look on his face, like, and he's kind of squat, kind of stout, and he's wearing a charcoal three-piece suit that he's got the waistcoat on underneath, but then like he has the jacket part open, and he kind of just casually, draws his hand, like, kind of to put a hand on his hip, but then at his hip you see what looks like a big gun, a big revolver. It's like, begging your pardon, sir. I've come from far away, and I'm in search of somebody that I was told lives at this domicile. Fancy as it is. Would you know of a let's see, let me just pull out my little sheet here. And he pulls out like what looks like a wrinkled telegram. Let's see, Julius McBain. Possibly going by some other name, but this is what I have.
Bob, I don't remember if Doc ever told Victor about like his real name. I don't think either that
I,
or Victor never really cared to ask.
I don't think that Doc has. I think Doc has alluded to, maybe has alluded to his upbringing a little bit. I don't think that he has told explicitly anyone that he's met since land stepping foot in England knows the specifics of like having come from a moneyed family on the East Coast, and certainly not the name Julius McBain.
All right, gotcha. So this man is at the door, and by just like how like, framed in camera, the blocking the light, he's like a bit of a like like intimidating like figure. Any like regular person who would like open the door to them. But Victor kind of just like sees a guy. I know that's like a gun and stuff, but he's just like a
Right.
dude to Victor.
Sure.
And Victor will just go, "Oh, an American. I have a friend from the same place."
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Would you be able to tell me if your friend is here at home? I've been
Oh, I don't know a Julius. I believe you may have gotten the wrong house. It's a long street. You're not from here. I understand that. Um, but I hope you find your friend. Um, I guess you can have a good day. I don't usually answer doors. I don't know if you start walking away first before I close it. I'm not really sure.
Oh, let me just reassure you. I mean, I'm just trying to locate an old friend, of course.
Mhm.
Maybe he's not the same as your old friend, but hey, maybe they know each other. So if they do,
All
can you
right.
please have your friend tell me where my friend might be? Again, Julius
Mhm.
McBain is who I'm
All
looking
right.
for. And
Okay.
here's a card. Here is my card. I am Winslow Taggard, and
Thank
I
you,
will be
sir.
staying at the Langham in town.
Langham Hotel.
Yes,
All right.
yes. Fine establishment. And I put my room number on there as well if you want to come and call, or your friend
Okay.
wants to come and
All
call.
right.
Yes,
Okay.
I
All
appreciate
right.
that. For
Mhm.
sure.
Okay. All right. Well, you have a good day.
You too. He'll like kind of like, tip his billy cock and then just kind of back away a little bit and then turn
All
to
right.
leave. But then he'll also look over his shoulder at you and you see this smirk on his face. Like, yeah, right.
Yes. All right. You have a good day now. And Victor closes the door. It's like it's the last door I ever answer. That was very strange.
Yeah, so the threat is a man named Winslow Taggart calls on Hargrave House looking for the American, and Mr. Taggart said he would try again later. Well, he, would. A cursory inquiry and reveals that Mr. Taggart works for the Pinkerton National Detective Agency and that he has been hired to bring the American back to the United States. He's staying at the Langham Hotel in the West End. Did you know that place? So for Doc, this is out of character, but through Doc's eyes, you know Winslow Taggart by reputation, ruthless and corrupt. What criminal scheme was he known to be involved in back home?
I think that the response, and I'll kind of start off with maybe the kind of wording Doc would use to go into it, but I think
Mhm.
Doc and probably anyone that has had the misfortune of meeting Taggart would probably say something to the effect of, he ain't worth half of what comes out of the wrong end of a horse. Or uh, if he's making money off things that aren't his or that other people rightly own, then he's not above any job. And I think specifically the thing he's known for is like when he's hired to assist banks in like moving people out of foreclosed homes or foreclosed like, you know, towns attached to mines or factories, he is like embezzling a bunch of things before the possessions of those people are sold off. That can be, gold, just any family heirlooms that might have a little bit of value to them, because the banks are trying to squeeze value out of the home, right? And Taggart can't take that with him. But like if someone has a nice set of silverware, silver, sets, then he can take that on his way out the door as he's like tossing destitute families with children out into, the dusty plains. Um, I think that's the kind of person Taggart is.
Cool. Taggart wouldn't come all the way to London just to collect a bounty, no. If you can figure out what shady angle he's working on the side, you might be able to confront him with it and pressure him to give up on the bounty rather than risk being exposed to his employers. So, the question on the board for the Pinkerton threat is, what unsavory scheme is Taggart pursuing while he's in London? It is a complexity 4, and you resolve the threat by confronting Taggart with his shady dealings and convincing him to leave London. You have a lead on a place that he is residing while he's here, so Langham is someplace to check out when you decide to do so. But then now we switch back over to we switch back over to the scene in the ballroom. So yes,
I forget who was Whitmore. Was it Whitmore?
Whitmore was speaking and talking about.
Yeah, if there'd be a knock at the door, and someone would be coming looking for you, but there's no one at the door. No one's coming looking for you. Taking the money is yours. Taking the money that's yours is the only right and respectable thing to have done. Whitmore would take a sip of the coffin varnish and swallow it before putting the cup down with just the single swig taken out of it. Plus, I don't. And he'd look back at the glass. Can you get drunk off a single sip of this stuff? I don't. Well, and Whitmore completely losing his train of thought.
Uh,
I think it might just. You might need to do this one, and he'd hand the shaving kit over to Doc.
mhm.
I'm gonna go see about making breakfast. And Whitmore, having never shared in your vice before, is just going to go up to the stairs, through this, removing the soundproofing from the ballroom, and look at Victor in the front hallway. Is it the coffin varnish, or do you look uncomfortable?
Whitmore, I do not know how you do it day in, day out. Someone comes to the door, you open the door, you have to interact with them, have some sort of exchange. It is, and I'm not exaggerating when I say it is Herculean a task. It seems like Whitmore.
Do I have to write another letter to Her Majesty's Royal Post Office apologizing to a mailman on your behalf?
No, strange. There was not okay. That I had a bad feeling about that one. All right, and we both know they turned out to be much more than the mailman that we thought. Now the second mailman after that, yes, them. Of course he had to, but this one, an American, came at the door, came knocking at the door, out of the blue.
A new threat poised against Her Majesty's city?
I don't believe so.
Then it's nothing to be concerned about.
Yes.
Let me go make you.
Okay, I don't want to be the kind of person that asks this, but he told me to see if Doc could have known it. But I don't want to assume. Do we? I know there's not a lot of them, but are we just? I don't know if I should just assume that every American knows other Americans here in the city, right? Do you feel like that's
That's a fairly safe assumption. You don't
is
know
it?
everyone. Do you know everyone in all of London? All of
I do not
England?
exactly, right? So I didn't want to assume just that this guy knew Doc, right? Or that he knew this guy. I think um Julius, I believe.
Julius.
Julius.
No, don't know anyone named Julius.
Exactly. All right. Well,
I'll add
so
it.
I just don't want to be rude to Doc, assuming that he knows these people.
I'll ask Doc if he knows anyone by that name.
All right. I mean, I can ask him. It's fine. You're gonna make breakfast?
Yes.
All right.
And Whitmore would
And yeah.
head into the kitchen. And while making breakfast, you occasionally just hear thumps and thuds as Whitmore struggles moving dozens of bars of gold around Hargrave House.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the previous vulnerable move. Wait. So Vice was in play. Farrell? Do you
Yes.
think? Okay.
Yeah, Doc like shaves himself up and
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Feeling more civilized.
hmm
Okay. All right. So, and then Whitmore, you did not have any conditions. So, as it was Doc's Vice, are you going to invite Whitmore to ask you a question about your past? Wow, that lined up so good. Or are you going to stumble on a clue for one of the things that's like on the board now?
I mean, it feels like we're gonna get there as far as like asking questions about my past. Like we're gonna get there by definition. It has to happen. Someone over breakfast is gonna mention, oh, by the way, you
Oh,
know
by the way.
Julius? And Doc's probably gonna be like, all right, I need to explain things. So that being the case, I think I'm gonna go with finding a clue.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Does that
Sure,
sound
sure.
that's
It
a bit
is,
more?
well, yeah, I mean, like it's, well, you would either invite Whitmore to ask you a question about your past, or you would stumble upon a clue that cannot conclusively, you know, uh, answer one of the questions on the board currently. So,
Hmm.
yeah, you would make it up.
There's like a stub of a hand-rolled cigarette that was left on the porch.
Oh, shit. To interject, Paul, thank you for reminding me about how my own character works.
Thank you. I was like looking at
Oh,
that. Wait, what? That's right. Okay, so can
I
you
do
please
have. It's been so long since Whitmore's done a vulnerable move.
please read your
So
move?
custom move, more than a housekeeper, a confidant. I've added Lord James Campbell Hughes' vice as a second vice after completing a vulnerable move with another hunter. The hunter whose vice is used selects both options. I'm sorry, may select both options. And when performing a vulnerable move, the other hunter may clear a second condition if the second condition comes from internal emotions, not from external or physical forces.
okay. Well, the
Well,
second part doesn't apply because I
no.
can't clear brooding, but I'll do both then. I've never done the first choice. I'll do both. As far as the clue, I think it's a stub of a hand-rolled cigarette, like a little plug, you might call it, the roach, that's got like very clearly very fine American tobacco,
Ooh.
but strange rolling papers.
Ooh, go ahead and put that into, well, I'm assuming Pinkerton.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead and add that. Yep, sure. Alrighty.
And then I'll answer a question.
If we want to go right to breakfast and you're all at the table, I'm cool with that. So,
Yeah, Whitmore can ask you for breakfast. It's not going to be the Julius question because we're going to do that one anyway. When's the last time that before the events of this campaign, when was the last time that the curse actually impacted Doc's life?
You said before the campaign?
Yeah, so before you made it to London, or
Hmm.
before you joined Hargrave House, rather.
Oh, let me think. Let me vamp too, because there's a mask I think that asks about that, and I want to make sure I don't step on that in the future. Yeah. Okay, cool. All of these make sense. Great. So I think that I'm not going to go with the last time because that is specifically a mask I have. The last mask of the past I have is uh narrative flashback showing the incident that, well, I guess the incident that caused you to go on the run. It's kind of implied that it has something to do with the curse, but I'll answer the question. The last time the curse, is it just last time the curse interfered, or the last time that I don't know.
Yeah, it can be the last time the curse interfered.
Yeah. Okay. I think leading up to Doc's departure, well, while he was making his way back east for a boat, he'd been on the road out west from place to place with the same group for a while. He'd been out there in general for quite a long time as far as cowboy lives go. So through the times and the different trips and travels, a couple of really close road companions kind of shook, got were shaken out. So by the time Doc needed to head back east, the people he was riding with, maybe three other people, were like very friends. They're very well known to one another, kind of a family uh, of circumstance. And I think the kind of last nail in the coffin as they were heading east was that um, the other horses, besides Calliope, besides Doc's horse, they wouldn't like stick around when Doc was around. So all the three other people that he were kind of his close companions at the time who were riding back east with him, uh, just to be riding back with him to help him out. Maybe there would be some talk over the campfire every now and again where the other three people kind of muse like, well, what if we head to jolly old England too? Maybe that wouldn't be half bad. Four cowboys in London. Um, but the other three other horses were always super fidgety and got more and more fidgety around Doc um, over the course of like the first 2 weeks as they were traveling from the west to the east. Um, and I think one morning one of the horses was gone, and it was found like you know 2 football fields away in like a small set of scrub brushy trees. It looks like it had been killed by some sort of wild animal. And after the tension and just the weird vibes of the trip that had happened up to that point, and the fact that the two remaining horses of the other three people, uh, again, like weren't calm or comfortable at all around Doc, those three people had to split. They had to head back towards like the nearest big town, and that's when Doc headed on by himself.
So we can take this to the breakfast table, um, where all three of you are there. Who's gonna throw out the question about the morning visitor?
I guess Victor would, since he's the one who answered the door.
And you have Taggard's card, so
Yeah. Um, and I presume this is just gonna lead into what Bobby talked about when you answered the question and things. But like Victor would just be like, oh, funny thing happened this morning. Uh Doc. I don't want to be rude. I know America, big place. East Coast, West Coast, full of people. But this random man who I presume is also from where you're from answered was at the door this morning um looking for someone. Victor will like slide the card to Doc. He said he was looking for a friend of his. I believe it was a
Doc has looked at the card and his face is falling. He's leaning down, a cowboy hat blocking his eyes.
Looking for a Jack.
You think he might have? I think he might have said Julius.
No, I believe I
Victor.
think it was Jackson.
Victor,
Yes.
you did tell me that it was a Julius.
Oh, it was Julius? Okay, fine. It was a Julius. He was looking.
Whitmore then realized, wait, Doc, how did you know who he was looking for? Are
Doc
there
puts the business card in his like shirt pocket and takes his cowboy hat off and puts it on the table and like steeples his fingers like okay.
There really are only 6 people in America.
Oh,
No, that's not what's happening here. Okay.
They really do all know each other. You're
I
right.
I need to tell both of you some things, and maybe in the future we can talk more about them. But as for right now, at this breakfast table, and probably for the rest of today at least, I'm just going to tell you these things, and you're just going to have to be responsible for processing them on your own time without talking to me about it. Okay? You each get one question afterwards. My name is Julius, not Roy. I came when I was in America from a pretty, some might say, aristocratic family, and they were terrible, and there were no real family of mine, and so I split. But apparently, they aren't so happy about that. It also, and man, of course, they sent Taggard. This guy's a real son of a bitch. It also may have to do with how I did take a sizable amount of money out of the McBain family accounts at the Bank of London maybe 24 hours ago. A sizable amount, it might be over a small fortune, just a small one. And I think that covers it. My name's Julius, and that guy's looking for me.
Does this mean that you're not actually an American medical doctor?
And Victor will say, "Oh, that's the confession we're having right now. I was thinking it was going to be about the other thing, but it's fine if you want to."
Wait, what other thing?
No, in your own time. I didn't want to. No, 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 no. In your own time, Julius. In your own time.
I'm gonna ask. We're making new rules. I'm gonna say new rule number 1. Please don't call me Julius. I do not like it. There is a reason that I have not gone by Julius for years. It's been a long time. You didn't know that, so I'm not mad at you.
All right.
I'm gonna totally ignore the other thing, whatever you were insinuating there.
Exactly.
And then I'm gonna pivot.
Say it. Didn't say anything.
It wasn't. I don't even know what you're talking about anymore.
Yeah, neither do I.
Who said what?
Your time.
And to pivot back, Whitmore, was that a joke? You know, you have to know that I am not a licensed doctor. Even in America, what do you think happens in America?
Whitmore's head's just going back and forth, not getting what Victor and Doc are talking about.
But could have had a PhD. Doctors.
You've introduced yourself as Doc. That's a colloquial term for doctor, is it not? And you carry a medical bag.
I see now where I've gone wrong. I am not a doctor. That's kind of a shtick.
Why is it a piece of wood?
That's okay.
You keep. So I know that I've been entrusted into your employ, but could you perhaps, when you have a spare moment, write down all of these colloquialisms that you use as an American so that I may better understand the more common vernacular from which you speak,
I will put that.
perhaps?
I will put that right at the top of my list, Whitmore. Wait, I
Excellent.
forgot. I've cleared feral now. I'll put that. I can do the gravelly voice. Do away with the gravelly voice. Um, I'll put that right at the top of my list, Whitmore. I promise.
Excellent. Explaining the
Yeah.
word howday would be most appreciated.
All right, that one might take a little bit. But I'll do that. I'll write you up a little explainer, and then to kind of conclude the breakfast conversation, the three things to take away from this are: my name is Julius. That Pinkerton son of a bitch is looking for me, and I am not a medical doctor. Are we all clear on all three of those points?
There's a fourth point, Doc.
No. There's no fourth point. I believe it's
Well,
just those
Right.
three.
No,
The
he was
fourth
very
one-
clear that there's a fourth point of don't call him
No.
Julius.
Oh,
That's-
that's
yes.
yep. That's the fourth.
Wait, what fourth point were you talking about, Victor?
Nothing.
I have to go brush my horse. Doc walks out of the room. Very Patrick Bateman, American Psycho. I have to go return some videotapes. I have to go brush my horse. Walks right out.
Is that another American expression? I'm not quite sure about it.
I'm not sure. I still forget that they're called states now over there. Forget that all the time.
Very fair.
Amazing. Victor, did you want to do anything about your otherworldly rash, or did you want...
I think since Victor brought it up, I think he will. I think just follow. I guess to have a scene with Doc then.
Okay.
He's really just gonna go brush Calliope.
Although I've got to ask, I mean, you are not as scruffy as you were, Doc. You're pre-Wolverine. But, you know, even though you've kind of released Feral, do you think their Calliope still senses something wrong?
In my head, I was tying that extreme reaction she had, the reality of I can't be in the stables with my horse anymore, to Feral.
Okay.
But I imagine like this is the beginning of a reintroduction process, right? Like
Yeah.
she's not refusing to be handled like she was the other night,
Yeah.
but she's a little bit skittish. I can see her doing a whale eye, right? And so Doc's like kind of going back to how it was when he first got Calliope, you know,
Horse whispering.
singing songs and telling her stories and brushing her down and all that stuff. If we're doing another vulnerable scene, do we have to be fighting? Is that your vice? Or are we not doing a vulnerable scene?
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it's got to be, well, like, hold on. Let's look at your vice there, Victor, hitting things. You don't necessarily... Okay, so figure out a way to reinterpret hitting things while you're in stables with Doc.
Yeah. I think. How do we incorporate this? I think what's gonna be happening is, Victor doesn't really know how to broach this conversation. It's a really difficult one to have. He had it with some of his friends in the past. I mean, it happens. Some people are more open about it than others sometimes. So Victor will kind of just like casually be next to Doc as he is brushing Calliope. He will take out the throwing knife and maybe his hatchets. And if there's just kind of just like a wooden post nearby, Victor will just like casually be throwing some hatchets and stuff at that post. Same every time. The hole just gets deeper and deeper. and Victor will go. I have. It's a little disappointing learning that you aren't a real doctor. I got this weird rash from our last um, runabout, and so I'm assuming you wouldn't know what to do about this. And let's say the easiest would be like maybe like on his like forearm and like kind of just like lift up a sleeve a little bit. Um, I guess if it's otherworldly, I think it's a rash, but there's like a pattern to it. Like it's not just a random splotch. There's like symbology to it.
Mhm. Doc, well, still brushing Calliope, like squints at your rash and goes, "Well, I didn't realize that you and Whitmore were so attached to the idea of me being a doctor. But I may not be a licensed medical professional, but I've had my fair share of experiences with strange things.
Mhm.
Remind me how exactly you got that rash?
Um, oh, it's fine. It will heal up in the next few days.
No,
I
I
usually
might know something about it, is what I'm saying. If it's a strange something, and that does look like a peculiar rash, I might know
no,
something about it.
no, it's one of those weird tentacle rashes from an otherworldly creature of shadows. Usually with these kinds of injuries, I just splash whatever medicine we have around at for the next few days, and eventually it kind of just heals up itself. Longer than other wounds, but eventually my body will kick in and it will
Huh.
handle it. Sometimes if I go to a doctor, it's a little quicker. But it's not painful, really. Every now and then I just get strange. I think I had a weird dream last night about a dark shadow plane. But besides that, it's really just itchy, I would say.
Huh.
Yeah, but now that you've mentioned strange things, you brought it up. I didn't bring it up. I don't know if you've ever experienced something like this, Doc, but I've had friends who have gone through changes as they get older. And sometimes these changes are things we don't expect we would ever have, and that they may be scary or it's tough to understand. Have you ever gone through something like that, Doc?
Doc kind of looks off. I don't know, like just thinking real thoroughly for a second while still brushing Calliope. Goes, yeah, yeah, Victor, I guess you say that I could relate to what you just described. Maybe a little bit at least.
Mm-hmm. And everyone's journey is different. Sometimes it's a smooth one, other times it's less than smooth. Some would say bloody one. But if if experience serves me properly, it helps when you don't go through that alone. It can be difficult, especially if the people around you aren't aware of it, and or whatever this change is and are caught in its um vicinity.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me a lot to think about, Victor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the very least, I guess it's good to know that I'm not going through all this completely alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, how do I be vague about this? If I happen to be going through something, like really going through something, you know how that is when you're really going through something?
Yes, it happened like
Yeah.
once in a full moon. It happens to all of us.
blue moon, but yeah, I get what you mean.
Ah,
Uh,
mm-hmm.
and so if I were to be really going through something, I don't know, metaphorically,
Of course.
there might be some like heavy chains, some
Yes.
gilded chains underneath my bed, metaphorical chains that
Gilded?
are metaphorically gilded. And you know, if I was really going through something, that
Mm.
might be the kind of situation where a good friend would take the heavy gilded metaphorical chains beneath my metaphorical bed
Mhm.
and restrain me for 8 to 12 metaphorical hours.
I understand. And I had this there's there's this family somewhere east of here. I don't know if I mentioned them to you, but they are the Rivias. They are some of the most physically gifted people in the world. More physically gifted than even me. We us and the other families are in awe of them. But what makes things completely unfair when talking about them is that there's a few, some of them, normally they would end up being heads of the family who take upon a change themselves just to further enhance themselves even more. Um, One of my closest friends was one of these, was the scion of the Rivias. And and as long as you are not as strong as them, hopefully, maybe, or metaphorically as strong as them, blah 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 blah. Then we should be okay. Um, to this day, I don't think my shoulder moves as well as it did ever since that night with my friend, metaphorically.
Huh.
Mhm.
That's good to know. I think we
Yeah.
can rest easy.
All
I can
right.
rest easy at least knowing I have a good friend like you
Very good.
to help me if I metaphorically am going through something. That
Yeah.
does remind me of a story. I knew someone that actually had a rash similar to yours. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, it was a riding partner for a little bit. Her name was Slim Shelley. She used to have that rash, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
yours, but all over her hands. Said that
Oof.
every night she had these night terrors. She'd be thrashing and thrashing in her sleep, and said she was visited by strange, shadowy creatures that would always hold her hands and whisper terrible secrets into her ears.
Mm-hmm.
But then she started stuffing her ears up with cotton soaked in beeswax every night, and she would put a little bit of gold dust inside her riding gloves every morning, and the rash cleared right up.
Oh, beeswax. Of course.
Couldn't
Forgot
tell
about
you
the
if it was
beeswax.
the gold dust or the beeswax,
It's the
but
beeswax. When
okay.
I just forgot. Yeah. Oh, and random question out of curiosity. I've always
Yeah.
kind of like ask this to people. Are you more of a dog person? Are you more of a cat person? Are you more of a bear person? What animal do you really feel a kinship to? Crocodiles? I've heard they're pretty cool.
Doc is just like slack-jawed in disbelief, has finally stopped brushing Calliope. You know, if I had to guess, I'd say I'm like a bit of a cat person.
Oh, okay. This is for more future reference if I ever have to get you up.
Right.
All right.
Metaphorically.
Yes. Well, I'm gonna go see about that the new American that came out our doorstep.
Mm. Yeah. And then Doc looks back off into the distance, like up into the distance, and squints his squinches his face up tighter in an angry look. Yeah, Taggart. Got to do something about him. Thanks for the chat, Victor.
All right, so if you think you can release otherworldly rash, you can go ahead and do so. Um, so I mean, your vice, Victor. At least how we started off. So either invite Doc to ask you a question about your past, or you create a clue for one of the current threats.
I'll think I think I will create a clue.
Okay.
I think I think Doc has uh the business card. Um and I think on the back I think Taggart gave us like 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 a random business card that he used for something else because on the back of the business card is the name like just written down is the name of a famous thief in London.
Interesting, interesting. So, given that, uh, Doc, you since you have the business card and such, like, and the room numbers written on the back of it and such, um, you know where Taggart is. You at least know where his room is. And then for the others, Whitmore, you were planning on going to the park to go with the clubhouse for the bright and beautiful, or you encourage them to have a meeting in a park nearby.
Yes.
Okay. And then Victor, were you also going to be heading over to the hotel in a different way, or were you going to investigate elsewhere?
Oh, I think I will investigate Taggart because he seems to be a very like shady person,
Hmm.
or a criminal underworld person. I will hit up just so we can start seeing the characters from the start of the game.
Right.
I will hit up those Cyrus.
Oh yeah.
I You get one extra clue in the information move when you ask Cyrus for information from his friends on the streets. So I will hit up our street urchins.
Nice. All right. Let's go with Whitmore. What park do you think? I mean, you don't have to have an actual place. I'm perfectly happy if you want to uh, create a park and then we'll paint the scene on it. Um, what did you encourage them to do for um, Harrison? Harrison Leeds.
The encouragement was to get a bunch of the members of the clubhouse for the bright and beautiful together. I believe there was some mention of a park on top of a hill.
Hmm.
So like a small hill in a park. I imagine that there's probably an easel with probably a portrait of Harrison that was done when he was still alive, still bright and still beautiful.
Hmm.
A number of probably chairs brought out in sort of a circle with everyone sort of sitting around, perhaps a small picnic table where snacks have been laid out. Half memorial wake, half storytelling extravaganza.
I think as you make your way to the park, I think it's a relatively nice day, amazingly enough, for England. You can actually see some blue sky, and I think as you make your way into the park, there's a flock of startled birds that kind of bursts into the sky in your wake. And if you follow their flight out, I think you will make out a figure with impossibly blue eyes behind the flutter of wings. Almost as if there was someone or something there that's staring at you. And you see them on the hill. They are kind of on blankets, or maybe they've brought their own like portable chairs or something like that, and they're leaning in and then talking about well, talking about what they talk about. And as you rock up, I think maybe one of them has stood up and is telling a very animated story about Harrison. Um, and Annabelle will see you coming, and she will welcome you. Uh, not to interrupt, of course, but to, sit on the picnic blanket that she's laid out on the ground, if you like.
Absolutely. Whitmore will join in and open up the sort of picnic basket that he's brought.
She will hand a small bowl to you if you want. And in it is like some fruits, you know, things that people have had available. Maybe somebody else has brought some bread. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you want to pass around whatever, or like take your fill from this. I'm gonna ask a paint the scene question. Uh, well, one, do you have a name for this particular park? Just out of curiosity.
For some reason, the word Cumberland comes to mind, the Cumberland Park.
Okay,
It's a it's probably not the most Londony name for a park, but Cumberland Park.
that's fine. Suits our purposes. So paint the scene on this. From this particular hill, um, not very large, but large enough that you're able to see almost as like in a panoramic view around the park. You can see the goings on of Londoners taking their respite in this particular place. How can you tell that on this day of all days that this is not the usual clientele that usually come here to the park? What do you see that says there's something a little off?
It's clear that this isn't the usual crowd that comes to the park. Because when you spend a day at the park and you know that you're going to spend a day at the park, you bring things with you: blankets, picnic baskets, bottles of glass bottles with water or juice. And none of the park goers have any of this. And they seem to be enjoying the fact that they've just come without things prepared. And it's not what you'd expect from a traditional afternoon at the park. People are just enjoying themselves without park going accompaniments.
I think we see like someone who goes to this park very often come to it. And it's like when you go somewhere you normally go to and there's like an event happening and you're not really part of the event. Look around, sees no one here they know, feels very ostracized. Everyone kind of like looks at them. Clearly they're not part of whatever group it's here. And this person who is holding all the things they normally hold, picnic basket, blanket, things like that. And he's like promptly picking them up and will go to a different park instead.
I think that throughout the park, you can see a lot of paths of convenience uh, run into the grass, right? People were places where people are like cutting between parts of the actual path 'cause it's a little bit easier. And we see those paths of inconvenience not being used. People are still cutting between the actual paths, but they're going different ways. You see a lot of people like just like cutting new paths of convenience in.
And you see this from your vantage point as you're like sitting there on the blanket with Annabelle and listening to this particular story. Um, and then it's as if someone else will chime in and say, "Oh, and that reminds me of something that he had done before." And then we'll go into their story. And then there are those that are listening raptly, and then there's others that are just kind of enjoying the victuals that have been spread out, like, um, family style on the grass. And yeah, you do see several people near Annabelle's blanket, Whitmore. And let me just see. Who... You see one particular fellow that seems rather striking. Several blankets slash stools away, there is a fella who is dressed in what looks like flowy caftans. Like, you know, they're kind of like layered on his person. Like maybe he's got like an open shirt underneath, and then he's also wearing, like, you know, regular trousers, but these dressing gowns are just rather striking because they've got patterns on them. I mean, like, you know, some of birds and then others like of flowers and such. And he's chain smoking. I mean, like, he's picking up a cigarette, maybe taking like a couple of puffs, and then, like, you know, picking up another one, and then just kind of like, you know, doing the same. And just making these grand gestures, responding to the stories that he's hearing, and he's kind of clapping, but not clapping like enthusiastically, but just kind of like a kind of like that kind of dramatic clapping, and he's kind of keeping himself like a bit away from the others, but still listening. Yeah. And Annabelle will kind of lean in where she sees you looking, and she says, "That's Eugene. That's Eugene Paulson. He's usually the host. I hope he doesn't mind that we've commandeered the hill here on Cumberland, but I thought it would be best to be out in the open instead of in his home, where it could be the memories could be a little too strong."
Absolutely, Annabelle. If you don't mind, I'm going to go check in with Eugene. He seems detached from the current moment and from Harrison.
Please, maybe you can see if he needs some, well, support. But that's why we're all here, right? Trying to support each other.
And yes, but one can only give support from the outside. To receive it, you need to be part of the group. And with that, Whitmore will get up and leave the group to go join Eugene.
He sees you coming, but makes like he's not concerned, and he continues to puff away on his cigarettes.
Mr. Paulson, it is a bright and beautiful day, and we're here in a park honoring what I believe you described as a bright and beautiful man.
Yes.
Why, then, do you look absolutely horrified? Your chain smoking cigarettes, something that should only be done to calm the nerve. What are you nervous about, Mr. Paulson?
He will slowly turn his face to you, and you can see the dark circles under his eyes, and he will just, like, you know, continue to puff, and like you can see his hands like shaking a little bit as he's puffing, and he'll say, "It's awful. It's awful. The children of the bright and beautiful. It's meant to be a safe haven. But time lost, ending up in different places than you remember that you started. And this. And now this with Harrison. Who will be next? Oh God, what have we done to deserve this?" And he continues to smoke.
Eugene, if Harrison was next, who was first?
I mean, he was the first to die. But others had been affected by the time loss. Just even me. I started to get the salon set up for my members, and then just turning, and then finding out that time had passed, and it was only a few minutes before everyone came over for a meeting, and not knowing what had happened in between. That between. Others had experienced it as well, and I don't know what's going on. Who will be next?
At the mention of the loss of time, Whitmore knows that he's got a book of prophecy, the Almanac of the Hyades.
Mm-hmm.
And Whitmore would like to excuse himself from Eugene for just a moment and
Right.
consult. Can Whitmore consult the book to see if anything's going on with time? Like with time missing?
Sure. Now,
Because
if you
that
want the book to help you with the mechanical roll to give you advantage, then you would mark it off. But if you're just using it as flavor text, or flavor for your fictional positioning, you don't have to mark it. So, yeah, if that's what you want to do, then I would say that is because you're using the book. I'm going to say sensitivity.
I will go ahead and mark the Almanac of the Hyades to
Okay,
give
so that'll
myself advantage.
sure 3d6. Take the two highest plus your sensitivity.
Yes. That'll be a 9 total.
Okay. 9 on an information move. Give me a second. I will resolve that with a clue and a complication when we come back to you. I'm going to go over to Victor. So, Victor, you know that Cyrus was pretty much around the environs of the St. Cecilia's Cathedral. And he's probably still around there, wearing his strange suit and shoes. But if you do your usual parkour, dropping through alleys kind of thing, I think you'll find him. So let's see. Give me a second. Just want to look at that move. Yep. Information move. Ask Cyrus for information from his friends on the streets. Yeah. So how do you approach Cyrus?
I think Victor will just be going through the rooftops of near St. Cecilia's Cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, Victor gets accosted by like 4 smaller assailants with knives. Very nice knives they shouldn't have themselves. And he will promptly, with one arm, disarm each of them and take them on the ground. I don't like. It's not even like very like aggressive moves. He just like slaps the knives out of like one person's hand, um, and will kind of just grab one by the scruff of their neck, twirl them around, and put them on the ground. And eventually, Cyrus and his crew will be disarmed, and Victor will give them back their respective knives, and they will go, "Well done, very good. I only heard you about 10 paces away this time. Very well done, everyone. Um, hey, it's okay. Hey, it's okay to cry. All right. I was very skilled, and you were very embarrassed by that. It's fine to cry. Get it out. It's okay. Well, I'm not just here to show you all a few more moves. Cyrus, my boy.
And Cyrus will come out from behind one of the alleyways. Always impressive, as usual, Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
But do you have to make them frightened to see even your shadow in daylight?
Well, fear is a strange thing. Either you are disabled by it, understandable. Not all of us can be um, as in situation as other people, but if you learn to use that fear um, for the better, fight or flight, they always say. Um, Flight, very good option, but if you ever needed to fight, that is fine too. And if you can use that fear to your advantage, then all the better. Um, but it's Cyrus. I want to commend all your friends here. None of them pissed themselves this time. Very good, very good. It's very impressive. Uh, but this will serve you well in time. You boys and girls, um, you live on the streets. No one's gonna give you anything. You'll have to take it if you really need it. All right? It's gonna be scary. Not gonna be easy, but you all have a better chance of making it now.
A couple of them look surly, giving this complimentary dressing down, I guess. Um, but then others will be kind of like bright-eyed and paying attention and nodding, and Cyrus will kind of murmur some reassuring words.
Yes.
Ah,
More of you are likely to make it now, which is good.
I don't imagine you came here to school my friends.
No, it was just a bit of fun. So, there is a a new American in town, and I suspect, based on what my own friend, who is also an American, told me about them. And no, no, everyone, not all Americans know each other. I don't want that to be just these two particular ones happen to know each other. It's a big place. It's a big place.
Have you ever been to America? It's like one of the
Uh,
urchins will speak up and ask.
no, that is not my jurisdiction. There's some people in, I believe, a state called Texas who usually deals with these sorts of things more so than us here. Europe is a big enough place for us to deal with. I assure you that. There is this man, I believe his name is Winslow Taggard. He seems like an unsavory sort, based on how he was acting when I met him in the morning. Um, my colleague definitely assured me that he's up to something here, not just accosting my friend. Have you heard of anything in regards to this man? Um, I believe the plan is for me not just to hatchet them, it's to convince them to leave for some reason. It's not my call, it's more my friend's call, but it seems to be that's the way we're going with it. And I'll follow along.
Well, I mean, news travels fast, especially with strangers. Of course, let me consult with my spies. And then he'll kind of like get into a huddle with the kids and then like see if they know anything. Go ahead and roll.
Um, and I know you kids love these sorts of things. If you give me some very good information, he pulls out the jar full of eyes. There's a jar full of eyes in it for you.
What are we gonna do with that, sir?
I don't know. You are children. Is it a jar full of eyes? Figure it out.
We're supposed to do them like marbles.
Sure.
Uh, go ahead and roll with advantage, I guess.
So I will get a extra clue because I'm conferring with Cyrus about the underground.
Yep.
Also because I am alone here, I'm the only
Mhm.
hunter in the scene. I will also get an extra clue from a lonely one.
So that should be like 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see.
All right. Lovely.
That's gonna be. I know it doesn't matter anymore because I think we've unlocked it, but that is gonna be a the 13.
Nice. All righty. You will get your 3 clues once we come back to you. All right. So
Mhm.
heading over to Doc and the Langham. All right. So let me ask you something first, Doc. How are you approaching the Langham? Are you going through the front door or are you trying to be sneaky?
I want to go right in the front door. The idea was that I would stake it out, and when I see Taggart leave, I would walk up to the front desk and try to talk my way into his room.
Sure. Okay. Because there is a paint the scene. Langham, there's a lot of hotel staff dashing to and fro. There are people coming in and out. You see great piles of luggage here in the foyer as you come in. And there's a pair of gentlemen that you see in comfy lobby chairs. They're enraptured in conversation and each other, as well as other guests that are milling about here, getting ready to be, um, you know, taken to their room or maybe coming down and checking out. So paint the scene for everyone. The Langham is one of the newer hotels in the city. What do you see that shows how they are putting their best foot forward?
In the lobby, there are like several kind of thin runners of red carpet going from an entrance to entrance. So like from the front door to the front desk, from the front desk to the hallway, and from the hallway to maybe like another hallway on the other side of the lobby. And there are like a set of half a dozen hotel workers that are having to coordinate to try to pick up all of those carpets right now because they're being replaced with freshly laundered red carpets. But because it's during work hours, it's a bit of a vaudevillian kind of circus, very like Three Stooges meets like 40-foot long, nice red carpets. Uh,
They've got a grand piano in the lobby. And you can see, and they've got a man sitting at the piano playing, and there's just this little ballet dance between him and the concierge, where the man will take a small cup and just place it on the piano for tips, and then a couple minutes later, um, the concierge will come over, place a good pound, a couple pound note in the cup, and take the cup and move it away off of the top of the piano so that it doesn't look like they're asking for tips. And then 10 or so minutes later, the cup will find its way back, and then the concierge comes and the dance continues. Continuing this, what appears to be a daily battle between the pianist wanting to make money and the hotel not wanting to look cheap for not paying the pianist.
I think that there are, yeah, just to make it, just to like stand out from other, from other hotels and things in the city, something so people can talk about instead of having decorations of statues, things like that, or like made out of real stone. They have people painted as statues who are just posing in halls.
Amazing. All right. So do you take a seat in the foyer, uh, Doc, as you're kind of like just looking around at folks and such?
Yeah, I think I'm maybe even doing the like super classic sitting in a chair in the lobby with a big newspaper held up
Yes.
in front of my face.
Oh yeah, they've they've
Just,
they freshly ironed those things this morning. So I mean, like
oh yeah,
they're ready to be read, for
crisp,
sure.
freshly ironed newspaper obscuring almost the entire top half of my body as I'm sitting in a chair, just watching for Taggart. And again, as soon as I see that he's leaving the hotel, I'm going to approach the front desk.
Yeah, I think you do see his squat, stout form, like heading down from the staircase, and will kind of shoot a furtive look around, but then goes out to do his business, whatever that is, for sure.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, as soon as I see him comically walk right past me,
Hmm.
I am going to walk up to the counter and what do I know what his room number? I think I do, right?
Yeah, you have a
In this
room
room?
number like on the back of the card that Victor slid over to you.
Okay. Uh, so I just go up to the front desk and go, uh, pardon me. I'm supposed to, and I take out the business card and kind of look at the back of it and kind of gesture as though I'm asking this person to also read the back of the card where Taggart wrote his information,
Hmm.
but I'm not giving it enough clearance so they can scrutinize it too closely. He's going, uh, this room number, I need supposed to be a key down here for me at the front desk to this room number here. And I say whatever Taggart's room number is. Could I get that, please?
You are speaking to a gentleman who has a very glistening coiffure, a vibrant pocket square in his jacket, and the tiniest mustache you've ever seen. So compared to your scruffiness, which is probably already growing out, as quick as it is, I mean, it is like you almost have to wonder whether he has a dirtied lip or if that is actually a mustache. Who knows? So, um, oh, uh, I'm sorry. You needed to get a key to this room that belongs to someone else?
Well, yeah, kind of like almost half confused looking back at the business card. That's the instructions I was given. I'm supposed to be meeting a colleague, a fellow American, actually. Uh, got a business meeting, and that was the venue that he decided on. He's got a room in your fine, brand spanking new hotel, if I'm not wrong. There was and you might be able to tell I'm not just from the United States. I'm from out west, right? And there was this old. It was basically a shack, real rundown shack. Uh, Stiff breeze could have knocked it over, but it comported itself to be a hotel. And I remember I got waylaid by a bunch of highwaymen on my way towards that town. Came in with not a penny left of my name. I was able to negotiate a 3-day stay at that hotel by evicting a family of possums that had moved into the attic. Ain't that something? Not nearly half as nice as these digs. And I'm doing a move here. This is my tall tales. I'm telling a story from back home that is wildly unbelievable in order to charm someone.
Okay. I mean, he's paying attention in his polite way, but like you see one side of his face like changing into that incredulous look.
Mhm.
But go ahead and roll and then tell me, or like you do you roll on that move? Um
Yes, yeah, I
okay.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the look everyone has on their face right before they become my best friend and do just what I want.
we'll
So
see.
I'm rolling with presence,
Okay.
and because of my move, everything echoes. I have it marked that I did get an echo of the past last session.
Okay.
So during this day phase, I have advantage on presence rolls.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Uh, because in the previous night phase, I got an echo of the past. So I will do, let's see, that's 3d6 plus, I want to say three, no, two, still. Okay. 3d6 plus two. Let's see. Oh yeah. Yeah, that'll do it. That is a 13.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So on a 12 plus, let me just
Mhm.
consult the move here. Um, okay. So on a hit, they fall for your charm and do as you wish or reveal a clue, your choice. On a 10 plus, they won't ask for anything in return. On a 12 plus, they also give you a keepsake to remember them by. Ask another hunter what it is and then write it down in your personal quarters. I don't even have room in my personal quarters. That's fine. Let's see. Jeremy, if you wouldn't mind thinking of what keepsake this Mater D has given to me because of my charming possum story.
What do you mean you don't have room? I hit the expand column buttons and there are more rows.
Oh my gosh, you're brilliant. Thank you so much. You're like real life Whitmore to mine if I'm a real
Yes,
life Doc. That's awesome.
that's hilarious.
He would hand you the tiniest, the teeniest mustache comb.
Of course.
It is so small.
One facial hair
Oh
aficionado
my
to the
God.
next. I see. You're all right, man. You're all right. You're not quite half bad.
I am here to help you experience unparalleled luxury.
I
And
could use some of that.
we are the grandest grand hotel in London today. So, this will help you maintain a sense of decorum, of precision about taking care of that facade of yours. The
I'll tell
hair is
you,
brilliant.
y'all really know how to do it around here. I'll be sure to put in a good word with all of the other Americans in London because this is a real nice place you got. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to imagine he's like got the key out on the
Yeah.
counter at this point. I just kind of like slide it towards myself. You're the best. I'll catch you around, okay?
All right.
And
And
doff my
enjoy
hat.
your stay.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Doc hightails it out of there towards Taggart's room.
Tall Tales move. On a hit, yeah, they do as you wish. Yep, for sure. Don't ask any for anything. They gave you the keepsake. Okay, great. And we're gonna like circle back and then go over to Whitmore for your clue and your complication. So let's see. You are in the park and you are looking in the Almanac of the Hyades to see if there's something about this time loss and such. The Almanac has that uncanny thing that it does, that when you look at it from a distance, you're not even sure what it's doing, but you can sense that it's changing each time. But you, holding it in your hands, flipping through it, I think you do feel that it is changing as it's responding to your perhaps unspoken request. And I think what you end up seeing in the book, you see a note in there, but the words of the paragraph don't make sense. What is important about this particular thing that you see is that it looks like it's a photograph in the book showing a younger Dr. Clauser next to a beautiful woman. That's the first impression that you get. And that is what you see.
Interesting.
And here's your complication. Let me go back. When you look up from the book, I think you get this picture of the lighting has changed. No longer is the sky blue. It is changed into some kind of dove or pigeon gray. And then when you're looking at everybody's blanket, like, people that are on the blankets or what have you, for some reason, the patterns in their blankets are just starting to move as if this dark sky has merged with the ground, so you can't quite tell which one is like sky or earth, and the patterns in their blankets are starting to writhe and swirl in front of your eyes, and it's rather nauseating. But even in the nauseating effect, you still feel some kind of ecstasy. So I'm going to say your condition right now is nauseatingly ecstatic, and that's what you're dealing with right now, next to Eugene and seeing this. Victor with Cyrus. Oh my God, 3 clues. Let's see. So much good stuff as he's talking with his friends. And this is for Taggart. This is for Pinkerton.
Yes.
Cyrus will like finish talking with his mates, and he'll actually have them like almost line up, and it's like, he'll call upon them like a school teacher will for like students, and as they're being called out to say what they have to say, they will step out of their line and then like, kind of like hold their hands out, or excuse me, hold their hands in front of them and then like say what they're going to tell you. So the first one who's called upon will say that Taggard's been paying his expenses. It's like going around town using some foreign currencies. You say he's American. He's not using any dollars. Not at all. No pounds neither. No sterling. No quid. Just any strange thing you can think of. Coin and bills. And notes. Not un-American. Not even British. So that's the first clue. And then the next person, like, that person steps back in line, and then the next one will say, yeah, we know of the new American in town. He said that he's meeting with the sex workers, but not for sex. They ply their trade just like anybody else. He does pay in those foreign currencies, of course, but he doesn't want to do the dirty. Not at all. And then she steps back in line. And then the last one will talk about, best be careful looking into this, sir. It's said that there was a maid at the Langham. She's found dead. They said she fell out of a window, but, don't believe that shit at all. I mean, this was a maid who was there at the Langham for some time. I think, and I actually heard, that she was pushed out of a window. And that is your last clue. A maid at the Langham is found dead, seemingly pushed out of a window. Little Miter here doesn't exactly have information, and he's kind of the go-between. Sometimes he's able to pass along things, so pardon that you aren't getting a fuller picture, Mr. Armstrong, but that's what we got.
That is much more than I was expecting. Now, children, things in the city are about to get really bad very soon. It's going to be very obvious to you, especially after you all have lived on these streets for so long or played on the streets for so long. You should have a sense for these things. If not, you weren't meant to survive regardless. So, when you sense that things are starting to get bad, it's not just a thing that you can hide from. There's going to be a lot of collateral damage. Get out of the city for that time.
What are we going to do in the country? We don't know that place. We'll have no
Hey.
place to live.
You have eyes and you have knives. You'll figure something out.
Well, thank you for the advice, sir. Do you think it'll be as bad as all that?
I mean, I try not to, but I expect there to be a lot of collateral here and there. I still have a few of these left, and he pulls out the dynamite. So, just be far from the vicinity if you can.
And then at the look of the dynamite, I think Cyrus will draw back, and the kids will scatter. Actually, well, hopefully it will not come to that. Kind of like the buildings where we can hang out. But yes, if you need our help again, sir, please feel free and stop by. But in the meantime, we will take your advice if it starts to look bad. Thank you.
Have fun out there, but not too much fun. I know those eyes can be kind of exciting.
Try not to, sir. You as well.
Oh, just be careful. One of those eyes is a basilisk eye. If you come across that one of you will be turned into stone. You'll know which one and what happens.
And Cyrus just kind of like looks back at you and maybe we should try and sell it off to the oddity shop. Thank you, sir.
You'll have a good day.
You too. Yeah, we're going to end with Doc getting into the room. Well, we're going to paint the scene on the room because this is fun. And then we'll see what you find. Okay, so Taggard's room. You see the tall windows that let in a lot of light. There's like some palm leaf motifs, like, you know, on the wallpaper. And there's very plush rugs underfoot. You do not hear yourself making any steps whatsoever because it just feels so, you know, so dense and thick. So paint the scene. Taggart won't allow any cleaning staff in his room. Looking around, how do you know that?
The ashtray is full of cigarette butts and like cigarellos, half-smoked cigarellos, and it's so overflowing. Clearly, he has started to use other vessels as ashtrays. So, like, if there was a, say, set of coffee or teacups in the room, that is now a vessel. A potted plant on the side table now houses several cigarette and cigarellos.
We can see that the bathroom inside of this hotel room has actually run out of bath towels. Not like the bath towels that are in there are dirty and used, like he has worn through the bath towels. He's used the same set the entire time.
I think as Doc approaches the room, we just see a clean person hanging out in the hall. It seems like the cleaning people have been told management that they're not allowed to clean this room. They are using the room as an excuse to take breaks throughout the day. It just tells people that like, oh, we're cleaning this particular room today. They just take there for like a smoke break or just to like kill time in their job that they don't get paid enough to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you see here. You let yourself in the room, having seen Taggart leave. Do you do anything before we end the session? Because I also want to give you guys an opportunity to think about some, if you want to answer a question or not, or we could just go straight to stars and wishes. But
Word.
yeah.
The thing I was gonna do when I got in the room was just we're talking like a boilerplate tossing the room, right? Like I am just going through all the papers,
Oh my
classic,
gosh.
like as you would imagine in a movie. But I was gonna try to get advantage by using actually something I didn't even have to unmark in my personal quarters. I never used it. This will be the first time. I want to use Kenny, the rapscallion. I open the window and a small street urchin crawls through, and I go, "All right, Kenny, let's find what we're looking for and get out of here." Again, things that look important. Big bold letters, gold foil. You understand what I mean. Let's go. And we
Okay.
just like work on tossing the room as
Okay.
quickly as
So
possible.
3d6, take the two highest with composure because you're trying to do this, you know, still like without being caught, basically.
Totally, totally. Let's see. That is a +0, but 3d6. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, no, no. It's very bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
That is a 3.
Wait.
Oh, sorry, a
W-
4.
w- with advantage? Really?
Yeah, I rolled a 2, a 2, and a 1.
Oh, you're killing me. All
Me
right.
too. Me too.
All right. So I think, and we can leave this as a cliffhanger if you want to stick with it. I
Sure.
think as you and Kenny are starting to really delve into the room, I think this is where Taggart comes back because he has his key. Well, well, looky here. I got visitors. And he immediately pulls out his revolver. So we can leave that for next time.
Yeah, I'll have to figure out what I want to do with that
Uh-huh.
one.
Taggart comes back. Dun dun dun. All right. So, given the few minutes that we have left, do you want to just go straight to stars and wishes, or do you want to look at the questions that are on the table to see if you want to answer one of them before we end the evening? What do you think?
I would like to try and answer the question for the Order of the Azure Eyes. I think I've got something. I just would like to know from the group do we want the order to be real or not?
Yeah. So, as a table, like, do you want it to be real or do you want it to be what the hell is this?
Because I've got something for both options.
Wow.
Hmm.
What do you
I'm
think?
always partial to real, but I can be flexible.
I think we've done real for like a lot of the mysteries. So if we want to change it up, we can. But I'm okay with real also.
What are you feeling?
We have done real for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. We've done real, I think, every single time, right? There hasn't been.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, then
Let-
maybe I switch my answer. We should throw in one not real thing.
Okay. Yeah, this one can be fake.
All right. So if it's not real, right? So
Yes.
what gives you the
So
indication from the clues?
so we know it's not real
Mm-hmm.
because Dr. Clouser founded this organization entirely for the clout.
Okay.
And we can tell that because the photo of him with a beautiful woman
Uh-huh.
joined him only because of this order.
Ooh.
And you don't need to make a painting showing ethereal looking figures that seem a bit too realistic. You would just show the figure with the eyes. The painting's just painted this way to make it look special.
Mm.
Unfortunately, um, the the organization has fallen on hard times recently,
Mm-hmm.
and so the silver eye-shaped brooch with a missing jewel was actually the jewel itself was actually stolen out by Dr. Clouser to pay off someone in a debt.
Ooh. Wow.
And so just trying to keep this sham and ruse of an organization alive.
Okay. So we're saying with those three clues, this is not real, yeah?
Correct.
Okay.
If that works
So
for everyone.
you got to roll for it. So roll
Yeah.
+1.
That's a 12 with the +1.
Nice, nice, nice.
That's
ATQ. All right, so 12.
God, I'm sorry, Bob, but these dice have been very handy for me this evening.
I'm happy for you.
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
All right, give me a moment. All right, so if the order isn't real, you've unlocked the next appropriate question. So if the order isn't real, the question is, what is Dr. Clouser up to? You're going to resolve the threat by confronting Dr. Clouser and satisfying yourself that he means no harm to London, or failing that, by putting a stop to his plans. Okay? So that is your question and opportunity. It is a complexity 4, and you still have 3 clues still on the board that you can use towards that. Just want to gather more clues, And then for the Pinkerton, again, the question is, what unsavory scheme is Taggard pursuing while he's in London? You resolve the threat by confronting him with the shady dealings and convincing him to leave, with his complexity 4, and you guys have gathered 5 clues already. So I don't know how many more you want to get. If you want to do something with that, or you can wait until next time to see what happens to Doc and and to Kenny. Oh boy.
Yeah, maybe I can get a one final clue out of this one, huh? Maybe. Maybe I
That's,
can turn it all around.
I mean, that is going to be up to you. I mean, like
Yeah.
actually, um, I have us marked down to play next week. Is that okay, or is that like is anybody having an issue with that?
I think that should be fine.
That works for me.
Okay, so if that's the case, then you have a week to figure out what's going to happen.
Perfect.
All right, fun, fun. All right. So given that, let's end the session for now, and then we are going to stars and wishes. Stars, of course, are what things that you enjoyed about today's session, gameplay, role play, and then wishes are what you'd like to see for next time. Or even in the future, because I'm going to say right now my wish is going to be I want to see, even if it's during the mastermind threat, somebody spending some time with Doc as he's fighting off the curse. You know, to use that part of the quickening move. Love to see it. Would love to see it. And I mean, I'll do stars later after everybody else.
Um, as far as a star, I have a star for both Bob and Paul for just the way that the scenes at the start of session, we went from vulnerable move to introducing the threat, back to vulnerable move to just scene of everyone being cozy into vulnerable move. It flowed as if this was an actual just normal day at Hargrave House, and that was fantastic. And to star to Mads solely for Taggard's accent, that I haven't heard you do an American accent. They've all been London accents, and that was fantastic.
I do
As
like playing Taggart.
as far as a wish goes, I would love it if the transition to night phase happens during a conversation between Doc and Taggart, and they start fighting as the quickening takes into effect halfway through their fight.
No! Oh God.
It doesn't have to. It could be much more. It could be a much more clean cut than that. But the slow transition of Taggart realizing he's in over his head.
Mm. Mm. But until, well, yeah, until that question is answered, it's like, you know, like all that can happen is that, you know, Taggart gets into a fight, but then like escapes. So
Start the day for everyone. We don't do a lot of scenes where just like all the hunters are together, so it's really fun just to have that scene with the three of us over breakfast. That was good. Um, Star to each of you for like the singular scenes. Whitmore at the park is always interesting to see because he has such a way with the people. And for Doc, completely forgot about Kenny. It's so cool to bring them back. Also, it's really fun for the final thing to be like, yeah, I got a nice shave. It's always cool to see like the justifications for getting rid of the condition size, and that was a good one. I haven't heard. That was a good one that I've heard. Um, and wishes for next time. Um, hmm. Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see how we resolve the Azure Eyes one because it's really cool. And one of the ways is kind of just like see them during night phase and just being like, "Oh, you're like just a loser. We can just ignore you." It's really interesting to be like, "Oh, you're not a threat. You're just like a guy. All right, just leave." That's a very interesting way to like phrase the resolution by satisfying that he means no harm to London. So just like watching him being like, oh, he's just a dude, and just like leaving from there. This was just an interesting thing to see how we handle that.
Stars, Jeremy and Paul for the entire breakfast scene. That entire thing was incredibly funny and very good. Good. Stars all around. And then Mad's star for Taggart. More than just the accent. the entire characterization is perfect in my eyes. I hate the guy so much already. You've done a great job. As far as wishes go, I just want to see what happens next in that hotel room. That's my wish. I want to live to next week so I can see what happens.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. So, yeah, the back and forth tennis conversations in the beginning, I love them. I mean, anytime you guys get into that where it's like it starts off serious and then something, just a back and forth happens, it's just like, wait, what? I love it. I love it. And How Day, always a winner. So, star for that. And yeah, I mean, like, leaving it off at that cliffhanger of like, well, of course he rolls badly, so therefore we get to see the major complication of Taggart coming back. And Taggart still has his gun. It's like, oh no. Oh God. Um and then like, star for the comment in chat, Paul, about Victor wanting to fight an influencer. God. We can make that happen. I'm going to see how this goes. Like, for the uh handling the Azure Eyes threat. We'll see how this pans out, but dang. So we're still in day phase at the beginning of next session next week. So just decide whether you want to do a little bit more investigation, and then we go into dusk phase with, if you want to answer another question, totally can, and then we're gonna like see how fast we can blow through night phase. Oh man, I'm gonna have to figure out like, what unseens are left. And so I enjoyed myself this session, especially enjoy embodying Taggart because he is such a pain in the ass. Um, but he's fun. He's fun to play. And yeah, I mean, I love all the imagery in the park. And yeah, the way you dealt with the kids, the attacking urchins, just to get Cyrus's attention. That was awesome, Paul. So that was great. Good job for everybody for this evening, and I look forward to next session because I want to see whether Doc gets into a ton of trouble, and see if you want to back it up with a, or excuse me, like bump it up with a mask. And remember, you still have Mask of Catharsis available to you, so don't, you know, make sure you use it before you end up losing it. All right, so just be careful. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I needed to mention. Don't think so. So, yeah, I mean, like, mastermind clues have been fulfilled, so no more new threats unless Victor happens to bring on the beast. Which, let's see, I don't want to necessarily give you an X because I think even for Victor, I think you dealt with the kids in an O kind of manner. You made it a teaching moment, which was amazing. So I'm gonna give you an O for the hunt, for that interaction with the urchins. I think that's it because we haven't hit dusk phase and all the other things that come with dusk. So, alrighty, that's all. I will see you guys next week. We will continue on with day phase, see how this stuff resolves, and then move on from there. I look forward to playing with you guys again in a week. So, have a great week, and I will see you later. Happy gaming, all right?